Hey everyone, Purple Celery here. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to be taking an overall look at Series 12 of Doctor Who, which has just finished airing on TV. Now, for me, one of the big questions was whether Series 12 would be an improvement over Series 11. So if you watch my 2018 video, an overall look at Series 11, you might have recalled that I said in that video that I felt like Series 11 was a bit mediocre. It was okay, but there was nothing really spectacular about it. And I felt with Series 11 there was a fair bit of room for improvement. The short answer to that question is that yes, I think that there are many things that Series 12 did improve on, but there were still a few elements for me which needed a bit of work. I'll start with the things that did work for me. One of the main things was the writing. I felt overall the stories in Series 12 were much better. There was only one real clunker, and that was Orphan 55. On the other hand, there were quite a few absolute gems, for example, Fugitive of the Jadoon. I also thought in Series 12 there were a few episodes which are flying under the radar a little bit at the moment, but over time I think that they'll become not classics, but very much appreciated. So for me, Praxeus is one of those episodes. I really liked how there were a couple of two-parters in this series. I think that was good because it gave the stories more room to breathe. It gave all the characters something to do. Nobody was just standing around underutilised. I also liked how Chris Chibnall brought back some familiar faces and some familiar elements, such as the Master, Captain Jack, the Cyberman, the Jadoon. I also liked having a few story arcs. I'm a big fan of arcs, and I felt that that was lacking in Series 11. I had no real concerns about the whole Timeless Child mystery. I've seen things around the internet saying, oh, Chris Chibnall broke Doctor Who canon. For me, he didn't break canon so much as add to it, and as I said in last week's video, I think that that the episode The Timeless Children sets up a lot of new and interesting mysteries about the Doctor's past that I'm looking forward to seeing in future episodes. One of the standouts for me in Series 12 was Sacha Dhawan's performance as the Master. I reckon this guy is an amazing actor. He really nails the character of the Master while putting his own fresh take on it. I think that he's got a great chemistry with Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, and all the scenes in Series 12 which involved him and the Doctor were very riveting and compelling. Moving on to the Doctor herself, this was a little bit of a mixed bag for me. On one hand, I did like how we saw a darker side to this Doctor. So we saw her like a bit more vulnerable, a bit more emotional, a bit more angry at times. For example, in the scene in The Timeless Children where she shoves the Master over, I thought that was really good. So yeah, overall I felt like Jodie Whittaker's portrayal of the Doctor was a lot more nuanced in this series. So she's still the same goofy, funny, kind Doctor that likes wearing wacky hats, but then we also see like a more darker and more brooding side to her, which I really appreciated. One thing that didn't quite work for me with the 13th Doctor in this series was the fact that she was still a little bit helpless in some aspects. So for example, with the Cyberman two-parter, she struggled to defeat only, 3 Cybermen in Ascension of the Cybermen, and then it was really Ko-Sharmus who kind of saved the day in The Timeless Children. So I would like to see in next series Jodie Whittaker's Doctor stepping up a little bit more and saving the day, so to speak. Another aspect of this Doctor that I'm still not quite sold on is her habit of babbling to herself and making those lame, funny quips when her life is in danger. Yeah, that just doesn't quite work for me. But for me, the biggest thing that didn't work in Series 12 was the companions. I felt in some respects they actually took a step backwards in terms of development. So for example, at least in Series 11 with Ryan, we had the character arc of him gradually accepting Graham as his family, for overcoming his shyness and dyspraxia, and overall being a more confident person. In Series 12, I just felt like there wasn't really much more room for him to move, and a lot of the time he was just kind of like there in the background, and he seemed almost like a little bit wooden. Similarly with Graham, in Series 11 we had the character arc of Graham grieving for Grace and slowly dealing with that grief. But again, in series 12, I felt like Graham didn't really do all that much besides say nice, kind things and be encouraging. There was like a little hint of it in the Cyberman 2-parter when he was flirting with that, I can't think of her name, one of the surviving humans a little bit, but I felt like that could have been explored a bit more. Yaz, I feel, got the most character development of all the companions in series 12. For example, in the episode Can You Hear Me, we got a bit of her background, how she was bullied badly as a teenager and how she was inspired to become a police officer by the police officer who helped her when she ran away. Overall though, I just felt like the characterisation of the companions was a bit too erratic and inconsistent. So there were elements that were quickly raised but then just as quickly dropped again. So for example, we had Yaz's recklessness in the Praxius episode. So there were no previous hints of Yaz being reckless before that episode, and then after that episode there were no instances where she was overtly reckless again. Similarly, in Spyfall Part 1, we had Ryan asking Yaz for her sister's number because he wanted to take her on a date. Again, that wasn't really raised again outside of that moment. Also, we had Ryan express his reservations about continuing to travel with the Doctor. Again, that was just raised and dropped just as quickly. So yeah, I hate to say it, but of all the companions since 2005, I feel like Ryan, Graham and Yaz are the ones that I connect with the least. Now, we know by now that Ryan and Graham are leaving after the special towards the end of the year. I'm actually not too cut up about that. The second biggest weakness for me in Series 12 was the lack of connection between the Doctor and the companions. So I felt that the companions had like a pretty decent bond with each other. And I did especially like how in this series we got to see Graham and Yaz spend some more time together. But I felt like Jodie's Doctor just keeps on pushing these companions away. So she keeps them at arm's length. And the scene between the Doctor and Graham when he tries to open up to her about his fear of his cancer returning was a prime example of this. I'm not sure whether that's deliberate, but if it is, it just, I guess, makes the Doctor feel a bit unsympathetic for me. In some ways, it just felt like she almost treats these companions as being a bit replaceable. I think a large reason why there's a bit of a disconnect between the Doctor and her companions was that in this series anyway, there were actually big chunks of episodes where she spent a lot of her time apart from the companions. So for example, in like Spyfall Part 2 and the Jadoon episode, she was somewhere and the companions were elsewhere. But there were also other episodes where the companions got lost amongst quite a large guest cast. So for example, in Orphan 55 and Praxius, and to a lesser extent the haunting of Villa Diodati. And I guess like as a side note, there seemed to be like a bit of a trend in Series 12, having like a very large guest cast. Sometimes it worked, but other times it didn't, because if like a character died or whatever, it just felt a bit superfluous, and I personally didn't really, I guess, feel overly invested in such a large guest cast. So in Series 13, I'd be happy just to see the Doctor travel with one companion or two at the most. I'm happy for that companion to be Yaz, but I'd equally be happy for them to bring in like a new companion and just like start over with like a clean slate for this Doctor. Another thing that I wasn't too fond of in Series 12 was the lack of the TARDIS. I mean, yeah, we got like a few TARDIS interior scenes, but there were pretty much no scenes of the TARDIS materialising or dematerialising. It's a small thing, but for me it's something that I do really enjoy, but we didn't really get to see much of that. So overall, I feel like Series 12 was a definite improvement on Series 11. It was a big step up, so don't get me wrong, I did like it a lot better overall than Series 11. But I also felt like it had like a little bit of a way to go before it was like really, really good. But anyway, these are just my thoughts on Series 12. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts, dear viewers, so don't be shy to jump in and leave your comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. And I will be doing more videos over the course of this year. But until then, take care of yourselves. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great day.